Hi everybody, welcome back to Lifting the Lamp. This is my second video on pride in my series on the work on oneself. So if you haven't seen my initial video on pride, check it out. In that first video I was talking a lot about the situations where pride can arise and whether or not it's justified. And in this video I'm going to talk about some of the attitudes that we can adopt which will allow us to move beyond excessive pride. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the old fish's proverb that there's always a bigger fish. When people have a sense of pride where they believe that they have done something which means that they're elevated above everybody else, they like to think that they're the best, that they occupy a higher station in life than anybody else. But the reality is that no matter how high or how lofty you think you are, there's always somebody who has more than you. There's always somebody who has more accomplishments than you. And so, really, your notion of being the best, or being the greatest, or being at the apex of the pyramid is really misplaced, because the whole value judgment of greater and lesser is always relative. And so because it's always relative, to think that you are the greatest is completely unjustified. And a second way of dispelling excessive pride is by, again, changing our perspective, seeing how relative everything is. But in this case, we're going to the cosmic scale. So if any of you have seen Cosmos featuring Carl Sagan before, there is a point at which Sagan talks about the pale blue dot. He talks about the planet Earth as just a pale blue dot in the cosmos. And we can really get a sense of this when we think about the Voyager space probe and the way that the Voyager space probe, there was a particular Voyager space probe, I can't remember which one it was now, but it was the first probe that we've sent out into space that has actually moved beyond the solar system. And that space probe at one point turned around and took a photograph of the Earth that it had left behind. And the Earth appeared as nothing more than a pale blue dot in the photograph. This entire world, this world that the great political powers of our time are trying to dominate and compete with one another over, is nothing more than a blue speck of dust in the cosmos. And when you think about that, it really puts things into perspective. You know, even if you could dominate the whole world, you will be the emperor of a speck of dust. So all of the things that we consider important, that we consider things that will make us greater, are really just determined by our own perspective. Perhaps from the point of view of a galactic intelligence, even the highest or loftiest of our accomplishments would be insignificant. And perhaps for some creature which doesn't have sentience the same way that we do, just the sheer fact that we can communicate using language and we can think abstractly is some great godly power. So it's all a matter of perspective. And to have this perspective isn't always to just think about how insignificant we are, but it's also to think about ways in which we are significant, which perhaps we take for granted every day. And that brings me to my next point. By letting go of excessive pride, before we have gone through that process, we believe that it's going to be painful, that it's going to be humiliating, it's going to be humbled, to submit to the idea that there's something greater than us. It seems like it's a disaster. But if it's done in the right way, then it can actually be a huge relief. You know, people who have a very high position in society, people who are just professionals, who have a great deal of responsibility due to their position of authority. Those people are very happy when they go on holidays because it's an opportunity for them to be nobody, to be no one and simply exist. If you are constantly immersed in a world of being responsible for other people and having the pressure of having to maintain your position and your status all the time, there's nothing more relieving than just being nobody and not having to meet anybody's expectations and being able to just exist and observe the world going by. And so, if we have too much pride, we're always trying to prove ourselves, and that causes suffering to ourselves. Whereas if we're not attached to always being the best, or having some sort of prestige that other people don't have, or proving ourselves to other people, like it even matters what other people think of us, then we can find freedom in that. And we can be humble in that sense, without being humble in the sense of self-deprecating, where we let people walk all over us. We can have all of the tools to thrive in life and to look after our own interests in life, whilst at the same time just being content in not having to be anything to anyone. And in fact, it is very empowering to be able to let go of that and to just be yourself. And so being humbled by the vastness of it all can be a very liberating thing. And so those are some of the ways and some of the reasons why we can and should try and overcome excessive pride in our lives. If you've got thoughts on this topic, leave your comments down below. Otherwise, please press that subscribe button. Thank you again for listening, and I'll see you next time.